It's Tuesday, May 28th. I'm Adam Walsh, and this is The Signal. And it is gardening day, folks. I don't want to alarm you, but if you're thinking about pruning, that window gets closing fast. So says my guest, horticulturist Meghan McCarthy. The lines are open for calls, emails, texts. Let's get growing. It's like, which grow pun will Adam use to start the show this time? And why does he only ever use that word as opposed to all of the other puns out there?
Whatever it is, I'm on board. I like it.
Thank you. Do you know what I like? And I mean, the rest of the province, whatever, because everyone else has been enjoying 20-degree days and sun, right? Someone on the show the other week from Happy Valley Goose Bay was bragging about the great weather. Well, it is 12 degrees right now in St. John's and sunny, so I think we did it. Summer's here.
We've made it.
High is 16 today. Go to 21 on Thursday. So, meanwhile, Corner Brook 17, mix of sun and cloud. There's a couple 20 tomorrow, 20 next week. Anyways.
Exciting.
Yeah. It's for all of us together, folks. Newfoundland and Labrador, every community moving into a grow season. Horticulturist Meghan McCarthy, how you doing anyways?
Oh, I'm awesome.
Yeah?
I'm so excited.
How's the botanical garden? When are you opening?
We're actually opening tomorrow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
What a great question, Adam. We've been having some necessary work done at the garden, as most places have.
Yeah.
So, we're really excited to have people back. We're open 7 days a week as of tomorrow.
Sweet.
A little bit of fits and starts because we still have a little bit more work to do, but it is gorgeous down there. Like, go down in the woodland garden and you won't regret it. There's flowers everywhere. If you've been down about the weather and you think nothing's growing, just come on down. It's gorgeous. So, we got a lot going on. We got an art show next week, starting June 6th. We got my pruning workshop this Saturday. We got plant lovers tour this Saturday at 2:00. So nerds unite.
Plant nerds unite.
The call has gone out.
And how's Todd doing with the bunny rabbits up there? Because I know they can be a subject of. I don't even talk to him about it on the show anymore.
Yes, it's a touchy subject. They actually run up to us now.
And
they don't feel our animosity apparently. So I think it's just it's a hard situation.
Yeah.
But I hate them and love them because they're
so
pretty cute. Yeah.
But they also treat your hard work like a salad bar.
Yes, I had to prune many a thing and shed many a tear this spring because they. But especially on the shrubs, it's hard because it's, things that we grow from seed are precious and they don't eat the not precious things, it seems. So, yeah.
That's kind of funny.
It is.
This is so precious. Oh, darn.
Yeah. It'll be like one dogberry that we grew from seed from the Himalayas, and then next to it will be a native dogberry, and it will eat the Himalayan one. So they have expensive taste.
You can taste the amount of freshness.
Yes, exactly.
Right? It's a little known bunny rabbit fact.
Yeah. I mean, I prefer the Himalayan too, so I don't know why I'm. Not that I'm eating them, but
it's been you
none
all
of the
along.
chew marks are mine. Don't tell Todd.
Folks, if you want to get in touch with us, it is gardening day every Tuesday during the grow season, which is we also do the shoulders, right? To get you into the growing frame of mind and out of it and into the next one in the fall. And this, I was just going over this. I'm late with the schedule this year, so I was going over the sched, and we're going to do gardening right up through October again. I think the last day of gardening is the last Tuesday of October, which is just before Halloween. But I don't even want to talk about that yet because it's so far in the future. If you want to join this conversation, 709-722-7111, 1-800-563-8255. Text us, 709-327-8206. Or email us, thesignal@cbc.ca. And as you're listening, if you have any snaps of your gardens, please email them to us, thesignal@cbc.ca, because we're going to start, we put each of these shows up on YouTube now.
Awesome.
And so what we're doing, we're thinking a little value-added thing. Like sometimes if folks want to go back to we're going to talk about pruning in this show. If folks want to go back and say, I actually want to kind of watch that again and check it out. If you give us your garden pictures, John Pike, who does this show on the technical side, he's going to wallpaper all these gardening pictures over the video, which is kind of cool.
I think that's awesome. And I love seeing people, like what people are doing out there. It's so helpful and inspiring for me.
And I just love the updates. Like I look at, so for the Signal, every show is a conversation. And for the gardening conversation, it's questions and tips that people are looking for, but it's also like celebrating what they're trying or what they've accomplished. And sometimes it's commiserating.
Definitely. Yeah. I love it.
Speaking of that, here's a very simple question for you. We bought a lemon thyme plant. Mm-hmm. And it looks like it's running out of time, both like, for the little leafy things and in life.
Yeah.
Do you think, could that be an overwatering thing, which it probably was at one point? Like, how do I get this thing to come back to life so that they're still green? It's becoming sparse. And I enjoy lemon thyme because I use it for when I'm butter basting steak. And I enjoy that. And it's not looking like I can do a much more butter basting with it.
And so it's inside in a pot right now?
So I was thinking of maybe, but we're also thinking of maybe moving it outside. Because that's fine here for growing, right?
Yeah, there are definitely like times that are perennial here. And sometimes if you bought it like in the grocery store or something, like it might be a weaker variety. Yeah. But what I probably do is take it out of the pot and take a look at the roots, because Mediterranean plants like that and rosemary and lavender and that sort of thing, like they are used to sort of like drier soils that. And like being in the ground and getting lots of sun and that sort of thing. So when you're inside and something might not be getting, even if it's in a full sun window, right? The window will block some of the sun, and then a little bit of extra water. And also sometimes, again, depending on where you bought it, they can be a little pesty. They could have little friends. So yeah, I'd probably like harden it off, take it outside and bring it back in a couple times just to get it used to it, and take a look at the roots, because you'll see like, they could be rotten, or maybe the soil mix isn't good, or maybe it was planted too deep. Like there's lots of things that, so I'd probably get it out of the pot and get a sunny spot if you could. Even a bigger pot outside, like on your deck or something. Lots of people do that. Cool. And then if you're not sure and you're, maybe snap a pick and I can tell you if it's one of the ones that can stay outside for the winter. And then hopefully you'll get lots more leaves that you can eat.
Yeah, well, hey, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Eating the leaves. Each week also we've been talking about. My wife's growing, I'll say we, but like the royal we here. We're growing perilla leaves because they're great for. No, so it's similar. It's I think the same family, so it's similar to shiso, the Japanese leaf. But this is used a lot for Korean barbecue.
Fun.
So my wife brought them from seed, and now they're kind of sprouting up on the windowsill, and I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Right. So this is great.
That's awesome. I love it.
And it gives this like sharp taste. So like if you're eating Korean barbecue, you've got your lettuce, you put the perilla leaf down, and then a little bit of whether it's your pork belly or also maybe your marinated, maybe your beef or something, but typically we'll do a pork belly. Nice. A little bit of gochujang, maybe grilled garlic, and also some onion. It is fantastic together.
That sounds awesome. I'm so excited for you. I love it when people can have, again, I love to hear about people's experiments. That's great.
We've got, so the other thing that happens, like I always talk about, like there's the text line, the email line, folks. So the Signal at cbc.ca, texting 709-327-8206. Also, sometimes people just go and text my phone as well, which is perfectly okay, folks, because it's my work phone, so that's all fine. Got a note from Dave Squires on that, and so here's what it says. This is celery that we grew from putting the stump of the stalk in water and then transferred it to soil. What should we do going forward with this? Thanks. And a little note, a farmer is a person outstanding in the field.
I wish there's more horticulturist jokes. It doesn't really open it up.
Send the jokes in, folks. Puns and jokes, too. So describe this picture on the screen that I'm turning around for.
Yeah, so we got beautiful celery, lots of leaf, not like a ton, lots of little stalks. And as with doing grocery store experiments, as I call them, we always just like mitigate our expectations a bit, because this is a plant that was grown somewhere else. So it wasn't one that was chosen for our climate, but I love stuff like this because it just brings so much joy. And if you can eat it, like joy in eating, like you can't get much better than that. This is now a eating show. It's not growing. So if I were you, like, keeping something that inside. It's not going to get like the heat and the sun that you want to really beef it up. So I would probably, like, after last frost, which is June 15th, I'd probably put it outside with some like nice rich soil that's well draining and see if you can get some beefier stalks. And it does need a long season celery. So I would try to get it in as much sun as possible. But good luck. That sounds exciting.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, we're gonna go to the phone lines, and if you would like to join this conversation using the telephone 709-722-7111. 1-800-563-8255. Let's go to Yuvadee, who's on the line from Glovertown. Hi.
Hello, beautiful day.
Gorgeous.
Hello.
Yes. I have two questions. Number one is, I bought a lot of flower, the annual flower. They look beautiful, and I make the new box for my garden. So I just put outside, but at night I put in the greenhouse or in the garage. Should I put them now? Because when I look at Google, they said, Dr. Google said there should be temperature like 0 to 5 is not safe to outside. And the second question is, I have a lot of strawberries scattered everywhere, so I dug it out and put in the pot, lace them up, and then they can hang down and not touch the ground, And then another one I bought from greenhouse, like this strawberry is there bloom all the time. I'm not sure what name, but I bought it. I put in the greenhouse. Should I bring outside now to put in the pot and let them now? Okay, 2 questions.
Okay, great. So for your annuals, you're right where there are different degree, I guess there are different zones. So that one might say, oh, this one can take 0 and this one can take -5 or whatever. But they were all grown in a greenhouse, so it's a bit of a shock for them. So just as a rule, I don't plan out my annuals until after June 15th when we get that, or like Father's Day weekend or whatever. I mean, when we get the last frost date, for multiple reasons, but mostly like they're beautiful and expensive. So, I know we are excited, but I would probably, I think what you're doing is great, where they're outside in the day and you're bringing them in at night. I know that can kind of be a pain. So good for you for doing that. You're awesome. But yeah, I would wait to put them in the ground until after June 15th. And for the strawberries, so you're wanting to you have them in your greenhouse in pots, and you're wondering when you can plant them in the ground. Is that right?
Yeah, the one I bought from the store, because that one, what they call, they bloom all the time, like in not only season. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, so in general in Newfoundland, the June-bearing ones do a bit better because our season isn't the longest. So the everbearing's fine. You'll just kind of get a smaller crop through this season, whereas the June-bearing, you get them kind of like a big crop all at once in the early summer. But as long as if you got like a nice sunny spot, and you have like a good amount of leaves, I would probably maybe, like, we had a frost last night. So, maybe give it like a week or so. And again, if it's no, I don't know what that phrase is, skin off your back. Anyway, if you can't skin off your nose,
ducks,
something, whatever that phrase is, if you can keep it in the greenhouse, that'll kind of bulk them up and give them a head start. And then, you're extending your season. So actually, if you can keep it in there until like June 15th, the same, then you're going to have some happy strawberries that are kind of had a kickstart. So again, smart idea to having them there, giving them a boost.
I cannot wait. I just put in the morning outside. It's so heavy to put it back. So yeah. I put a half, like 4 outside, and 4 I still in the same pot, so I can move it back. And gotcha. I can afford to lose 4 pants. They're not cheap though.
Well, and if
Thank you. And I have a few pictures I will send later.
Oh, I'd
yes,
love
please.
that.
In
That's
my
great.
garden.
Yeah.
Thank
and
you.
if you can't move things, you can always just throw a sheet or a piece of remer or something over it if that's the issue, just like for anybody.
Yeah, last night I did experiment, put left outside one, and I used a bucket cover at night. So morning I took it out. So I will then moving back my flower pot, like in and out, like since I bought last week. Okay, thank you very much.
Awesome. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. See ya. So we are, I think about 18 days around June before
Ooh, the
go
countdown is
time,
on.
before grow time. So everyone listening. Oh, I think there's some radio reverb there, which... Is that what I sound like? I sound amazing.
Well, yes. Sorry. That's what you sound like.
All right. You're like, no, you sound horrible.
No, you sound great. I was going for you sound great.
This is the Signal. It is Grow Day here on the Signal. If you want to join the conversation, 709-722-7111, 1-800-563-8255. Text us, 709-327-8206. Emails, including pictures of your grow progress, thesignal@cbc.ca. Let's go to George on the line from Gander. How you doing?
Doing fine. Thank you for taking my call, Adam.
Thanks for calling.
Megan, first of all, I'm curious if you still managed to save your Himalayan poppies, or did you lose them, or you still got them? I know a few years ago you had some Himalayan poppies out there.
Yes, yeah, we do. They actually are starting to get buds on them, which is so exciting. So with our construction, we had to sort of move some of them, but they're doing okay. And we got a bunch more coming from seed, so we're in good shape. Thank you for asking.
Are they the same ones that you had originally?
Yeah, so we actually have probably at least like 5 different kinds. So we have some of the like blue ones, we have purple ones, we have white ones, and we have like what's called monocarpic ones where they kind of grow and then they only bloom once and then they die. So a smorgasbord of Himalayan poppies, you might say. So but we do definitely have the classic blue ones, and they're doing okay. They'll make it.
Yeah, the blue ones are absolutely out of this world.
Totally, I agree.
I know there probably a year or 2 years ago they opened a new school here, and they planted a pile of trees, and they lost a lot of them. I don't know. I think they just planted on. I don't know if they just didn't know what they were doing when they planted them, or they planted them, they didn't take care of them, and some of them they wired up, and the wire had grown into the trunk, and a lot of them that they planted are birch. Now they look like they might be river birch. Is a river birch a weeping birch?
So river birch has it's kind of like a white birch, really gnarly cousin. It has like a darker bark, and it's a lot scruffier, and it's pretty special. So I'm probably thinking it might not be that one, but it could be like a European weeping birch. Like it's the one that grows down here all along the the Waterford River with the cracked bark. So it could be that, yeah.
Yeah, because it is more of a whitish bark. I don't think it's a dark bark.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I'll tell you now, my problem is every time I go by, I notice that had a lot of dead stuff on it this year from the winter. I guess a lot of branches and stuff like that is just totally dead. And I was thinking that maybe it's a birch that is probably a zone 5 or 6 or something like that. We're in Gander, we're zone 4B, and I'm just wondering if the birch they put there just wasn't for our zone.
So if they brought a birch in, I mean, there's so much birch in Central. And there's not, unless you're getting into some really, really fancy ones, most of them do okay here. I would say the problem is based on what you were saying, maybe with the way that they were planted. So a lot of the time with these like big trees or even just little ones, they in the nursery pot or in the ball and burlap, they're planted too deep. And then what happens is people plant them even deeper.
I tell people that all the time. The root flare should be
Yes.
at ground level.
Phrase of the day. I love it. Yeah, root flare, exactly. So I'm kind of curious if something's happening down below that's causing that dieback on the back, on the top. So I don't know, George, if like what your position with these trees are, but like you can prune off dead, damaged, and diseased anytime, and that's not going to be in your pruning budget, and that might help the tree.
I don't have anything to go to school, but every time I go by, it just kind of makes me sad. So I did actually prune a lot of them, cut out a lot of dead wood on them that I could reach.
Yeah, that's great. And I find birches, especially if they don't have a good start in life, they really are dramatic about it. They really show they really protest. And also I find that when you have like bad ice situation, because the branches are so thin, they can break up quite a bit. So it's possible too that something happened. I don't know what your winter was like, but that something happened over the winter that really caused a lot of damage too.
Megan, my main question is, I have some friends that want me to. I've done a lot of pruning, a lot of shrubs and trees pruning. I love shrubs and trees, but I got some friends that want me to prune some overgrown rhododendrons. And I have a lot of azaleas and rhododendrons myself, but these particular ones are probably 5 feet tall. They're overgrown for the situation they're in, and I need to cut them back probably a foot or 2 feet. And I know that rhododendrons are basically one of the few that if you do cut them back, I think they can get buds from the main stem. But under where the flowers and the stems are, I mean, it's basically it's bare wood. So I'm wondering, and I do believe that you cut them, you would prune them after they finish flowering. What do you think?
I think you're right on. Yeah, you've clearly done this before. I know with rhodies it is scary because you can't see the buds. They do have like what we call dormant buds. So when you cut them, so if I were you, George, I would clear out, because they can also get quite a bit of dead, and it's really hard for you to see what you're doing and where you're cutting. So if I were you, I would probably clear all the dead out first, and then you can actually see what's alive and what's dead and what the problem branches are. Because I find with rhodies too, sometimes they'll have like, we want to do sort of more thinning cuts where you might have a branch that is especially tall and you can kind of take it back to like a main stem, and you're not having to have the shrub like break a bud from, because they are pretty slow to do that. And sometimes with mixed results. Like I've definitely done it and they've been fine, and then other times it's just the bud doesn't want to break for whatever reason. So what you said about after flowering is perfect as well.
They look fairly healthy, and that don't look like too much dead stuff on them. But I just wonder if I wait till after they flower and then cut them back, say a foot or two. I'm back basically to bare trunks. So do you think that that'll be all right, and then I might be able to get some dormant buds that come out?
So are you taking, like, when you're with what you are picturing, when you're done, will there be any leaves at all?
Not so much on the top, no, maybe on the side, but I mean, what I was hoping to do is leave some. If there's any lower ones, I'd leave them, so I'm going to have some leaves, obviously, but otherwise, I hate to get rid of probably half. Can I get rid of it, cut tops off them, basically down a foot or so, that I'm getting rid of probably 50% of the actual leaf material?
Gotcha. Yeah, because I was asking because there's a difference between, like, when we do what we call like a rejuvenation prune, that's the one that we do after flowering, and we're typically not going any more than like 25 or 30%. If we're getting into more of that, we're getting more into a renovation prune, and that's when...
What's the name of that? I was trying to think of the word for that, when sometimes they cut trees and they cut them down to probably about 2 feet, and then they bud from that, and there's a name.
So that would be coppicing. So you do that with like dogwood like dogwoods and willows and like the.
I don't want to do that.
No. But typically, if your pruning budget is going to be over 30%, then you're getting more into a bigger shock. And for a roadie, like because they're kind of slow to react, I would maybe just say, okay, this year you're not going to get any flowers. You're going to do it now because this is the time to do that renovation prune. And you're going to give that plant like the best possible chance of like hardening off that new growth and really be able to baby it along because really by the time it blooms, you might be mid-July before, depending on which one it is, or maybe later. And then that doesn't actually...
I'd say that, I suspect that they're going to flower probably in about 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay, gotcha. So if...
And I was wondering if maybe what I should do is just do half it this year and half it next year.
You could do that too. Yeah. So if you say, okay, I'm going to make a plan over the next 2 years to bring this down. I'm going to keep in my pruning budget. I'm only going to prune about 25% of this plant this year, and then do the other 25% next year.
Right.
Then and just know, obviously your flowers are going to be affected. But I like that plan, George. Actually, I like that better than doing a renovation prune, because a renovation prune is hard on a plant. We use that in desperate times. Yeah.
So right after the finished flowering be the right time?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And then less to deadhead. It's great. 2 birds, 1 berry.
Right. Thank you so very kindly, Megan. You're a godsend.
You too, George. You're doing awesome work. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, George.
Happy gardening.
Happy gardening.
You too.
Dormant buds. They're not your friends yet, but soon they will be.
Yeah, exactly. You can't see them.
No.
Plants are so cool. They're hiding lots of secrets. Yeah, but most plants don't have dormant buds. Most of the time you can see the node or the bud that you want to cut to.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to cut pretty close to that, because otherwise you're going to leave a nub, and that's how disease and rot and stuff gets in. So we like good, clean cuts, nice, clean tools, sharp. Yeah.
This is The Signal. It is gardening day. I'm Adam Walsh. My guest today, horticulturist Meghan McCarthy from Memorial University's Botanical Garden. If you want to join the conversation, 709-722-7111, 1-800-563-8255. Text us, 709-327-8206. Emails thesignal@cbc.ca. And Linda in Deer Lake just sent, check out this picture, garlic. Hold on now. I don't know what's going on in Deer Lake, but there's something in the water, and so it's probably actually the great sunshine and weather, because that's well
amazing.
advanced.
Oh, I love it. It looks like you're going to get scapes soon already. My goodness. Jealous.
Yeah. So, if you want early garlic, or it's probably on time in Deer Lake, but if that's for St. John's purposes, if you want early garlic.
That's awesome. I love
go to Deer Lake.
Plant. Yeah, that's great. Great job, Linda.
And thanks for the picture. And folks, if you want to send your gardening updates to us, thesignal@cbc.ca. And when we pop the show up on YouTube each week during gardening season, we'll wallpaper some of the pics up there too. And these are great. Like, I think, the show's also podcasted, right? But you can't see pictures on podcasts. So it is a great reference for any gardening questions you have.
Totally.
Right? And each guest per week, we've got a range of answers and questions and stuff. And you've got we were just talking about pruning there with George from Gander.
Yeah.
You're talking more about pruning soon.
Yeah,
right?
I love talking about pruning. I'm doing a workshop this Saturday at 1:00 at the Botanical Garden. So if you would like to come, you can just register in advance on our website. But it's one of those things that you read on the internet, and then you stand in front of your shrub with your Falcos, and you're like, oh, this is scarier than I thought. So we love talking about like the theory, but then we go out and say, okay, well, what are you having trouble with? And sort of, and actually do like a demo and actually get to cut things. And I think that's really important, because it is, a part of gardening. And, there's 2 spectrums. So there are people that just cut anything, anytime, and are kind of random about it, and then there are other people that are really afraid to cut, and I understand both of those. So the why and the how is going to be the big themes, I guess.
And when I said at the beginning of the show that the window for pruning is closing, what does that mean?
So I was mostly thinking about that big renovation prune where if you have something and it really, like, it's completely out of the control and there's no way that you can really save it from itself, I guess. Like last year we had these mock orange that were probably they were like half dead and they were spindly and they needed some love. So we cut them to the ground like this time of year and they started to come back and it's great. So sometimes you just have to do that. And for things like hydrangeas, like macrophylla hydrangeas, things that flower late in the year, that now is the great time to prune those. So things like roses as well, like your fruit trees. There's lots of things that if you can get them before bud break, then it makes your life a lot easier.
I love hydrangea.
Yeah.
And in another time and place for me, on the Tokyo side of things, back when I used to live there, hydrangea ushered in summer.
Yeah.
So late June or mid to late June, and it would be like, here we go, summer's coming, and it was just always so nice. And here, later in the summer,
yeah,
because that's how things work.
Yeah.
All right, we're talking a little bit of a pruning there. We got some picks coming in, folks. If you want to join the conversation here today, if you got questions, you want to update us on your gardens, 709-722-7111, 1-800-563-8255. The text line is open, 709-327-8206. Emails thesignal@cbc.ca. Meghan McCarthy is with me here for the full show. We're hanging out. Goutweed. And this is the theme I'm bringing up with many of the guests through the summer. I showed you some pics, right? So a buddy of mine sent me some pics of his backyard, had a tarp out, like a green tarp over, trying to kill out goutweed. What's the conversation to have around how to fight that never-ending and sometimes, depending on who you are, losing battle? Totally.
And I think it's all about mitigating expectations or understanding you can do a lot of things to try to slow it down, but it is work. And so for me, I'm always okay, well, what is my goal here? Is my goal to have a perfect garden with no goutweed in it? That is probably way less achievable than saying, okay, I'm going to knock this back as much as I can, and I'm going to live with it, and I'm going to stay on top of it, and it's just going to be part of my life, and maybe I'll start eating it.
Yeah, that's what Dave Goodyear was talking about a couple weeks ago. He's like, eat your way through it.
Yeah. And if you're diligent, and you can also, you might just have, everyone's garden is different too. It depends on a lot of different factors. But the issue, I guess, with the photo you showed me was they were trying to solarize it, which is when you put a tarp or something really heavy over it.
You're trying to choke the life right out of it.
Yeah, because there's lots of energy in those leaves, but you really need something dark to help get the sun to help you out in that. If you're just using a light color tarp, then you're smothering it. You're blocking out sunlight, but you're not getting that heat. So there's lots of places East Kem being one of them where you can buy almost greenhouse floor, by the roll or whatever. We've done that before. And also know, when you do that, it's not going to be oh, okay, great, I did that for a year and now it's going to be dead forever. That's not really. But again, we're thinking about that plant has a lot of energy and it has a lot of roots, and what can we do to slow it down and make it a bit more manageable?
And here's the follow-up question with that too, right? So this the goutweed in question in this backyard has been covered for 2 years.
Oh, okay.
He's looking for suggestions on what to plant along with grass seed to help keep the goutweed at bay.
So that's interesting. So a lot of the times when people want to manage a section of goutweed, actually turning it into a lawn isn't a bad idea, because you don't really have to, you're picking your battles. You're okay, the goutweed's over here. I'm just going to seed it and I'm going to actually mow over it. And that actually does a good job of controlling it. It keeps it low. And, as you know that, I don't know, I don't really care that much about weeds on a lawn. And if you are okay with just having some goutweed in that that's actually not a bad way to keep it controlled. And then you just have your garden somewhere else.
And a couple of weeks ago, what came up was let's say you've got some encroaching goutweed, right, moving in, and but you got some things that you're growing, and you're like, I do not want this to get there. The conversation then was to dig a trench around it, because that can also act as a barrier. So if you want to protect your plants from goutweed, if you have a trench line, that was one way, because sometimes the conversation a couple of weeks ago, I think it was with Dave Goodyear anyways, it was just the fact that it won't grow past that trench oftentimes, or it's one way to kind of prevent it. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, I mean some sort of like edging would definitely help, but I've also seen it grow like in the bumpiest soil, like the down and up through lots of things. So like whatever. And also we want to think about practicality in our garden. Like I'm just thinking, if I had a trench, like would I be falling in that trench all the time if I'm trying to like move with a wheelbarrow? But yeah, like trying out something like that, I don't think it's a bad thing. Like it's going to slow it down. It's not going to stop it. Yeah. I would probably too, like when you're digging it out, be very careful and try to get as much root out as you can, like around that trench, so that you kind of have two lines of defense. Because really, like the very carefully digging it out is really the thing that's going to knock it back the most, I think.
At least I think that was the conversation. I may have just been making that up. But anyways, we'll push through. All of a sudden it's like, there's trenches all over the place. And where did that come from?
I just have ankle problems. I'm like, I'm going to fall in that trench.
Staying on the goutweed conversation, we got a text came in from Sarah Hodder. Hi, I'm finally dealing with an area that had been taken over by goutweed. I've got a pear tree in the area. It's just starting to flower, which is fantastic. Yeah. I'm wondering if it's too late to transplant it. I like to get rid of all the goutweed around the pear tree's roots. Love the show. Any advice? Appreciate it. Well, thanks for the text. Yeah,
it's still early enough to move something like that. And what you could do is, when you're moving it, really try to normally I would like to keep some root ball, but if you wanted to even wash the roots and make sure there's no goutweed in that root system, so that you're not moving it somewhere else, that would be okay. But I would still then really baby along that tree. If it flowers or tries to flute this year, I wouldn't let it, and use some nice fertilizer that's going to help the roots.
And here's a pic.
But yeah, so it's just a little tree, so that's good. It can still be. It might also need a stake, because when you have a bare root tree, there's not a lot holding it on. And just make sure you don't plant it too deep. Anyway.
I should say Sarah texted, here's a pic, and then said, death to goutweed.
Yes.
4 exclamation points.
Wow, yes. Yeah. She's a real gardener. She knows. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's 1 exclamation point, there's 2, there's 3, but when you get to the 4th one,
there's some passion.
I mean, I feel the passion from my seat here.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome. Well, good luck with that.
Good luck with the pear tree, and thank you for the text. And I mean, that goes for all of you. If you want to text us your pictures, questions, updates, emails thesignal@cbc.ca. The text line 709-327-8206. The numbers to call 709-722-7111, 1-800-563-8255. So what do you get excited about? I mean, like everything, but what specifically at this point of spring for ornamentals or types of things are you getting excited about?
Yeah. Well, I just love the bulbs. The bulbs are a boppin', and there's so many bees in the garden. It's amazing. And just everything coming out, and that sort of curiosity, and just being in the garden and being so happy to be there again. But it's so beautiful down there now. We got trout lilies and fawn lilies happening. We got checkered lilies. These are all more bulb type lilies. We planted tons of daffodils and tulips and hyacinths. All that is going. And it's so cool because, they weren't there. We haven't had anyway, we're planting bulbs in places where bulbs have not traditionally gone.
Cool.
So kind of seeing like what made it through and getting some color. So I know a lot, like this time of year, a lot of people are like, oh, I want a wildflower like meadow or whatever. But they have big trees. So like now's the time of year when people can have their, their flowers, even if they have a lot of shade in their backyard, which makes me very excited for them.
Oh, look, I'm driving around. I'm loving all the daffodils everywhere, just popping. Like they look so great.
Yeah, they're so happy.
It's a really enjoyable time of year. And also, like, I was running up Rennies River Trail the other day, and there's a, so let me see, that's the... what's the it's the yellow, it blooms early, first in spring, the hyacinth.
Forsythia.
Forsythia.
Yeah.
And it's forsythia.
Yeah.
So the forsythia's out, and then you've got a couple of cherry type blossom trees that are out there, and it's just lovely, right?
Yeah.
All the green is kind of slowly
Love
taking
it.
over, but yeah, it is really, really nice. Thinking of, like, we were talking about herbs earlier, right? For lemon thyme. What are, like, if folks want something, like, if you're looking to do like just your own little herb garden to start for outdoors type of a thing, what would be on your list of what you would want?
So for me, for herbs, when I'm getting them, like I want to eat them, right? Like, so I normally go first for the perennial herbs because they keep coming back. They're less work.
Yeah.
And normally they can, like, you can get a good patch going. Like, so something like chives, like, they are so happy. You can have a huge chive patch. You can make vinegar out of the blossoms. You can eat them. They're always fresh and they're there. They seed around. So if you want more, you always have more. And you're not really worried about harvesting. Because sometimes when I get the ones that are just for one season, I'm kind of worried about harvesting them because I'm like, I just grew you from seed. Like, you were a baby 2 minutes ago. And now I'm going to eat you.
And now I'm eating you.
Yeah. So things like oregano, I mean, I know it's really tough, like the really tough ones like mint and lemon balm, like you can have them, they might run a little bit, so just maybe keep them in a pot or something. But things like that, I mean, you just get such a harvest, and they're way easier to start with. So that's normally where I start for sure.
Yeah, we've got some chives going too.
Yeah,
along with the prayer leaves.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about the chives.
Awesome.
Here's a text that just came in. Have a pruning question about apple trees.
Great.
I have 6 semi-dwarf 3-year-old apple trees, wondering if they should be pruned at that age.
Yeah, so the apple trees should be pruned at every age. So what's cool about having a new apple tree is that you can do, we talk about pruning and training, and people kind of forget about the training side of the pruning, where with apple trees, you're going for a very specific shape. You're going for kind of like a bowl shaped, not a lot of crossing, lots of airflow. And when you have a young tree, it's a great time to kind of plan your cuts for that year, but also for years to come, so that you can start creating the shape that you want. And now is a good time. Like, normally I try to do it like while they're dormant, but before bud rake is still fine. So normally I'm cutting like, and when you look at an apple tree, you can kind of see like the first year growth, the second year growth, because there's a little like apical meristem scar, I guess, or there's just like a ridge there. So if you can see where the first year growth is, or last year's growth, if you cut even within 3 buds of like the previous year's growth, then what you're doing is you're training like the spurs of that plant to be like dense and more and closer together. Because what happens is when people don't prune their apple trees, they'll have a really long stem, and the fruiting spurs, like where the fruit will come out, are really spaced out. And then you have a big tree that's kind of floppy. Yeah. It's harder to direct it at that point because you're having to cut harder in to retrain it. So what I would do is the American Horticultural Society, they have, or the Royal Horticultural Society, they have really great resources in actually how to train young trees. And I would take a look at those, because it also depends on, I mean, I'm sure it's just a regular semi-dwarf, but if you were doing anything fancy like espalier or cordon or whatever, they would teach you how how to do that.
Excellent.
Yeah, but definitely like fruit trees, you just got to get in the habit of cutting them. Even if it feels like a tiny bit wrong, it's good for them, I promise. But make sure you have clean tools and that you're not cutting use alcohol in between so that you're not spreading disease and that sort of thing.
Excellent. There you go, Ryan. Thanks for the text. Let's go to the lines. We've got Jackie on the line calling from St. John's. Hi.
Hi, how are you doing, Adam?
Good. How are you?
Oh, good, thanks.
Excellent.
Waiting to get out to finish my pruning now.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay, question for Megan. And actually, before I pose the question, I will get hubby, who's a much better photographer than I am, to try to get some pictures of my beautiful red and yellow Darwin tulips.
Oh, great.
Yes, please.
Love the Darwin.
And I really push the Darwin ones because, in my opinion, and experience from living in this garden for the last 60 years, they are the most reliable series coming back and back and back.
Yeah, because that's a big issue with tulips that sometimes they don't return.
There's still a few out back that the rats didn't eat that Dad planted in like the early 60s.
Oh, wow. Great tip.
But the Darwin series is the one that I find, well, as you know, the real fancy ones only last 2 or 3 years and then they just die off, right?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, question. Last week I discovered dreaded lily beetle.
Oh, no.
Yes. What I did, actually, thanks to the Newfoundland Garden Facebook group, I was alerted to look for them. I've kept an eye on them, but I suspect that last year I may have missed them because I lost, I would say, about half of my true lilies, and I was in Ottawa this time last year, actually.
Gotcha.
So they may have, but three are. I saved about. There are three came back. I probably had about a dozen. What I did is I wasted. Don't say waste. I used about a quarter of a bottle of olive oil to make sure I really drowned the little buggers, and I used a thin fork and knocked them off into the olive oil, like in a small glass dish type thing, and so they'd end up in the dish and not on the ground, was my main concern. Mm-hmm. And I did see one egg, which I also managed to successfully dispose of. Don't know. I've been checked every day since. I think it was 2 days ago I noticed the beetle, and I got rid of him. Now, I don't know how valid it is, but I've heard the coffee grounds help keep the larvae from crawling back in the ground and destroying the bulbs. So I got lots of them around, so I figured it wouldn't hurt anyway. How long should I be checking them for either the beetle or the larvae?
So we have them at the garden as well, and I'm pretty much constantly checking. So I'm always checking for eggs, so a lily beetle, if you don't know, they eat lilies, but they eat other things as well. And they're the brightest red, like they're the color of the CBC logo, pretty much.
Actually, one day it was cold. I took the binoculars from the kitchen window and looked out to see if there were any.
And you can actually see a little CBC symbol on their backs.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a little known fact.
Yeah, exactly.
You see the witch on their back?
Yeah.
I see the CBC symbol.
No. But yeah, so because knowing their life cycle, you may have gotten the adults, but they may have laid their eggs already, and the eggs are the same color as that bright red color. So in terms of like pests that you're going to be picking off, like they're an easy target. And I think you were right with worrying about like knocking them off the plant because they. I go to grab them and then they fall and you can't find them. So
actually, I did read somewhere that the eggs fall off really easily.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I'm always worried, so I just squish them with my finger when I see them because I'm a monster. Okay. I also do that with just because I'm not sure and I don't really I don't want to take the risk of them falling in the soil and being like, oh, okay, we'll live here too. But if you can just do, even like once a week a check, it will pay off in the long run, because when they do get away, and they become a big infestation, they're just really difficult to deal with then. So a little bit of extra time in the beginning to nip it in the bud, I think it'll be really worth it, Jackie.
Well, right now, like I say, I only have the 3, so it's not too hard to babysit 3 lilies.
Yes, totally. And what you're doing with just like picking them off, and that's the way to go.
In terms of timing, so obviously it's around the end of May that the adults are having a munch on the leaves and laying their eggs. Mm-hmm. How long do we look for adults? There's eggs, there's larvae.
Yeah, so I find they have multiple life cycles in the season. So
I was afraid you were going to tell me that.
Yeah, so I'm always on the lookout. Yeah, and it doesn't really take long. You're especially looking underneath the leaf, right? Because they even though they're bright, they can be wily. Yeah, so I'm just always checking every time I walk by. I just kind of do. Yep. Well, not every time, but every few times.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, because they can get into other things like hostas and stuff as well. So
I didn't realize.
Yeah, they can eat other things, mostly when they're finished with the
Fritillaria and Lily of the Valley, and I don't have either.
Oh, okay, yeah. So,
but I do have a bunch of hostas, and some of which they're fond of.
Yes, yeah. So I would, but they tend to eat the lilies first. So that's your ground zero there, yeah.
And then they carry on.
Yes. Happy picking.
Like the buffet, pick your favorite food first.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for that. I warned my neighbor about it last year. She's not really a gardener, but she did have 3 lilies, and I told her what to look for.
Great.
And anyway, when I saw them on mine, I decided she's gone now. I figured I'd take a look at hers, and she doesn't have any of this.
Oh, perfect.
Lilies. No lilies. So I got a feeling we had them last year and didn't know it.
Yeah. Yeah, they're sneaky, because I didn't really know that they were even here until, maybe 4 years ago. So
yeah, that's about when I heard of them.
Yeah.
Didn't they come in on some plant or something from mail order plant or something?
Yeah, they typically do. Yeah, that's how we got viburnum leaf beetle as well. So yeah, unfortunately, but because we're an island, there's lots of things we don't have. So that's great.
There are times I've been in Ottawa, and my mother-in-law had definitely the nicest garden in her neighborhood, and I've been so tempted to bring stuff home, and then I think, no, not worth it.
Yeah.
Like that even before I knew about the lily beetle, but in general terms.
Yeah, especially with soil, with nematodes and stuff. You don't want to be at that.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jackie.
Hey, have a good one.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, and if they get into your hostas, it's hasta la vista.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, your when Nan says she gets hostitis in the spring, and your hostitis would be go away. So
there we go. We're winding down here. What are you doing this afternoon then? You going back to the garden? Yeah,
we're mulching. We got beautiful leaf mold, and we have a new rose garden and a new bed that we put in last year. So we're mulching those, which is it's so beautiful, and the plants love it, and it really makes things really sharp. So that's probably what we're doing. We're planting some peas. Todd was planting those when I was leaving, so maybe we'll plant some more things. And still a little bit in spring cleanup mode, because it's just, there's still leaves that are stuck in things, and the weeds have kind of like the popweed and that sort of thing. That's all really taken off. So always something to do.
We just got a note here from Tony Keats. I don't check Twitter all that often anymore, but every so often I do. And I got a message. Yay. And it's a great gardening show. Here's some info on our Spring Kids Planting Contest that we, Town of Dover, we have every year. So, folks, if you want to know more about that, go on to Dover NL's Facebook page. And there's some lovely pictures of later in the season.
Oh, gorgeous.
Great planting things. So
yeah, dahlias and cabbage and, all sorts of stuff.
Love it. Excellent. Well, enjoy your afternoon. Enjoy the sun. Let me just, hold on. Let me hit refresh here on my Environment Canada. It is now, we started the show So this is how hot the show's been today. It is 2 degrees warmer than when we started. It is 14 degrees outside of St. John's right now. Heading to that. Oh, tropical. I mean, get your shorts on. It is, I'm sure we'll probably see someone running by without a shirt on any minute now because, once you hit 14 degrees, that's what that means. Thank you for this. I'll see you later in the grow season.
Thank you so much. Yeah, have a good one. We'll see you at the garden, everybody.
All right, folks, that's it. If you want to get in touch and if you want to send us your grow pictures, thesignal@cbc.ca or any show feedback. Looking ahead to tomorrow, for tomorrow's conversation, we are talking about travel and living away from home, and we're asking, what have you learned from those things? What have you learned on your trips to Europe or parts of Asia or wherever, or if you've lived somewhere else, could be out of your home community, another part of the province, the country, wherever. What have you learned about that? That's tomorrow. Until then, thanks for listening.